guests and participants. I'd like to first of all let you know how I manage the time allocated for this session. After my brief introduction of each speaker, one at a time, each speaker will have 20 minutes to deliver a speech. And when each speaker finishes his speech, I will be able to summarize, I hope I will be able to summarize the speech briefly in Thai. And then, in the end, if time allows, I hope that I will have question and answer session so that the audience can ask the questions, ask the speaker the question themselves. Now, let me briefly introduce to you first the first speaker, Dr. Chayan. Dr. Chayan graduated with a PhD degree in International Development Education with concentration in anthropology from Stanford University. In 2004, he received an honorary doctorate in social anthropology from Gothenburg University from Sweden. Dr. Chayan is now a full-time lecturer at the Faculty of Social Science, Chiang Mai University. Besides the director of the Center of ASEAN Study, he is the director of the Regional Center for Social Science and Sustainable Development and the director of the Center of Ethnic Study and Development at the Faculty of Social Science, Chiang Mai University. Dr. Chayan has been working on ethnicity, development, and multiculturalism, and has promoted the intersection between social science and development. His recent publication includes Transcending State Boundary and Contesting Development, Social Suffering, and Negotiation. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Chayan Wattanaputi, who is going to deliver a speech titled Questioning ASEAN Connectivity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chalath. I'm not a full-time lecturer at Chiang Mai University. I'm a full-time retired professor, but still working with Chiang Mai University in various capacities. My pleasure to meet you, to be with you this morning, to speak about ASEAN connectivity and ASEAN identity. But I would kind of depart from the mainstream discourse on ASEAN connectivity, because I think there's a gap of knowledge in understanding ASEAN connectivity as well as ASEAN identity. I don't think I have enough time to elaborate what I would like to say, because we are given only 20 minutes each. And of course, we need to allow for Dr. Chalath to translate it our talk this morning as well. I approached the topic of my talk this morning because of my personal frustration after I was asked to be the chairperson of the Center for ASEAN Study at Chiang Mai University. I have noticed that there is a paucity of knowledge with regard to what ASEAN is and what is the reality about ASEAN. So I think the panel theme this morning is about social construction and exchange of knowledge on ASEAN. So I think it is timely to talk about this. What actually is the ASEAN as imagined and ASEAN in practice? And what do we know or what we do not know about ASEAN connectivity and identity? What is the gap of knowledge with regard to the idea and practices, or what I would call the imagined ASEAN community and the ASEAN from below? from people from the ground. As you all know, we have been told that the goal of ASEAN community would lead us to have one market, one production base, one vision, one identity, and one community. We hope that there will be free flows of commodities, services, investments, capital and skilled labor, etc., etc. And there are three pillars of ASEAN that will pull us together to be a community in ASEAN. And there are many, as has been claimed right at the beginning, that ASEAN community will bring a lot of advantages. Like local community will benefit more from trade, investment and tourism. People may have job opportunity, more income. And consumption goods will be cheaper because we have lots of cheap commodities from China or from Thailand. And we all, scholars and students, will learn more about ASEAN countries. Opportunity to learn more English, more languages, particularly English has been declared as official language of the region. And border communities will benefit increasingly from border trade and movement. But I think we may have to also listen to another side of the coin. That is, there seems to be the emphasis upon industry rather than agriculture, and particularly about environmental problems. Border communities will face more health problems, more human trafficking, and to my knowledge, stateless people, those who don't have identity. But of course, there will be some people who benefit from ASEAN growth and prosperity, but already we have already had less income distribution. Income inequality will increase, and etc. And more importantly, for us, for our particularly both in mainland and peninsula, the ethnic conflict, ethno-religious conflict, still have not been resolved, not only in Myanmar but also in Thailand and in the Philippines. So, what I think what we are told as ASEAN in the imagination, or ASEAN as imagined, and what really happening is some kind of contradictory. And we do not seem to have enough knowledge to know what is going on, or what will be going to happen if we arrive at the ASEAN community in year 2015. I have to go fast because we have 3 minutes. Let me try to give you some examples when we talk about ASEAN connectivity. First of all, the connectivity which has been much discussed, or also given lots of emphasis, is the connectivity through infrastructure, meaning the roads and railways building. Our Prime Minister is traveling he went to Laos a few days ago, and also to visit Vietnam, and has met with the Prime Minister of China with regard to how to invest or how to increase infrastructure in Thailand, from Kunming to Bangkok later on. And not only the road has planned to build, but also with regard to the energy, the connection of the region through electrical grid. This can be achieved by the mega projects. For example, in the Mekong River, some of you may have known that a big dam is being under construction. It's called Sayaburi Dam. and that is meant to bring the electrical power from that particular dam to Thailand mostly. And 2 weeks ago, I have privilege to organize an international conference on the Salavin new study river, during this conference we discussed about the plan by the 3 countries, China, Myanmar, and Thailand, to build several dams in these mighty free-flowing river of the Salavin. And again, the purpose is to generate electricity from hydropower to feed, on the one hand, Myanmar. The reason is for rural electrification, and of course for Thailand. Thailand would like to purchase the power in order to increase its production capacity. So these are some plans in the region, whether or not it's being constructed or now in the planning to construct, like in the case of Don Sahong, in the lower part of the river. So this is some of of course there's language. I think here we are talking about construction of knowledge and the exchange of knowledge. You can watch the language of the investor for the dams which are planned to build in Mekong River or in the Southern River. One of the reasons is for rural electrification in Myanmar, or for Laos, the building of the Sayaburi Dam is for Laos to sell power, energy power to Thailand. Laos perceives itself to be a battery of Asia. But as for the local people, the language of local people is that, is it true that these will benefit? Or is it, in the case of Myanmar, is it a means to control certain ethnic area which has not been accessible in the last maybe 2 or 3 decades? What about the change in the environment, both in the Mekong River and in Salavin River, if the dams are built? And more than that, in the case of the Salavin River, what about seismic risk? Because scientists have noticed that there is a strong correlation between dam building, meaning the reservoir that has been accumulated, and the earthquake or the seismic phenomena. So, for local people, some of them have done some research, collecting information about livelihood of the people in the river, both in the Salavin, upper Salavin, and in the Mekong River. But this kind of knowledge are quite alien to the policy making. Whereas the EGAT, or those who are involved in dam construction, they produce certain kind of research, which is known as EIA or SIA, which of course, being my Myint, who would be able to tell us that in Myanmar there's no EIA law or regulation. In Laos there's no such law. So what are those EIA reports? What kind of knowledge that they produce to justify the construction of the dam? So here you can see the difference between knowledge production from those who would like to invest their money in building dams and those who will be affected by these kind of dam projects. I'll go to other issues. So another kind of connectivity. We often